Okay, so the Terrence McKenna conspiracy. Sorry about the presentation, I'm on a smartphone. Okay, now there's the old, this has been going around for years and years. Terrence McKenna made a comment during a lecture that he gave, and he said, he basically said he was talking about psychoactive active substances and spirits, and he started to work for them. And a lot of people said he's talking about the CIA when he said this. And personally, I think he meant what he said. A lot of people, they've got no nuance when it comes to humour, irony. Anyway, first of all, like, I'm reading Food of the Gods, okay? Just started reading it a couple of days ago. Now, I'm going to get the money shot out of the way. Here's the money shot. I don't want to do the whole thing. Oh, we're going to get into. Oh, I'm going to show you something later, like Terrence McKenna does. Let's get the money shot out of the way. Now, this is something strange that I noticed last night. Food of the Gods, okay, published in 1995, and I believe he wrote it several years before, okay. It's something quite strange. Food of the Gods, right here, where it's got the date published and everything. First published in the US in 1992 by Bantam Books. Right at the top, copyright, C in a circle, copyright, Sarah Rosbach, 1984. Copyright, Sarah Rosbach. So of course I go on Google, who's Sarah Rosbach? What's going on? Is that his ex-wife? What's happening here? I've Googled Sarah Rosbach. I believe it's the same Sarah Rosbach. She's some sort of interior designer, and she's written books on Feng Shui. If it's the same one, there's a photograph of her from 1984, a black and white photograph of Sarah Rosbach, well-known author. So I Google Sarah Rosbach, Terrence McKenna. When I Google Sarah Rosbach, Terrence McKenna, all I get is like 4 or 5 results. And they're the PDF of this book. So there's something, I don't know what's going on here. Maybe there's a perfectly innocent explanation, but this is something really strange. Do you not think? That this book is copyrighted to someone, not to Terrence McKenna, to somebody called Sarah Rosbach. I find this very, 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 very strange. Okay? So that's the money shot out of the way. Right, now, so I'm reading Food of the Gods. I've been listening to Terrence McKenna for years and years. I actually met Terrence McKenna once in '96 in London at a festival called The Event at the ICA. I met him and asked him a question, shook his hand. I'm not a hater. Let me get that out of the way first. I'm not a Terrence McKenna hater. It's someone I've dipped into over the years. I read the Archaic Revival in 94, 95. Didn't understand a word of it. Listening to the Shaman, all that stuff. That's an interesting story as well. But anyway, I'm not a hater. I don't trust him. I just don't trust him. Now, why don't I trust him? I don't trust his use of language, right? I was listening to a podcast a month or so ago by Mark Windows from Windows on the World, and he's well worth a listen, on Spreaker, Windows on the World. And Mark Windows was talking about like gurus. He's talking about religion and gurus, and Indian gurus in particular he was referring to, how they have a shtick, okay? And the shtick is, it'll be like talking very slowly. And they get asked a question. They're sitting up on the stage and everyone, Sadhguru, people like this. I know there's like lots and lots of others, but he's the popular one at the moment. Someone like Sadhguru. And somebody will ask him a question. And Sadhguru, and he'll answer, and it'll be very slow, and it will be he'll string out an answer, and it will be something like this is many people, they are asking these questions. And why we ask where these questions come from. And let me give you an example. We have a chicken, you know chicken. So the chicken, many people they eating the chicken and it's laying eggs and it have feathers and a beak and it walk around on the ground, the chicken. They're all laughing. So we have the chicken. So the chicken is it is hatching from egg. We see egg. The egg is breaking, and the chicken. He put his head out. His small chicken, and he's looking round. His first view of the world. This is chicken. And then we can observe the chicken, and for much time we observe how is this chicken living. And we see after some time of watching this life of chicken one day is with the other chickens, they are playing, living together. And then one day this one chicken is laying the egg. He's laying this white egg. The same like white egg from where this chicken came from. And this egg is coming out. And after much more time, this chicken is sitting on the egg many days. She is sitting. And after much time sitting on the egg is hatching and out come another chicken. But then people, they want this question. They have a question. Which one is coming first? Is chicken coming first? Or is egg coming first? So to get back to the question, and they all laugh because the silly Westerner asked the stupid question. The stick, there's this guru stick. So the reason I've listened to hours and hours of Terrence Mckenna. And it's kind of like the same thing. In a different format. With these flowery words he uses, he goes on and on and on and bloody blah and bloody blah and this sentence that never ends, so you actually forget what it was you started talking about in the first place. And you're talking about the archaic and Schopenhauer and Wittgenstein and the way this bleeds into our expectations of what we would perceive as being a reality that has only been, and he just goes on and on and on, and it's like, after a while it's like, yeah, you're very clever, you're quoting all these people, you're using all these words that I don't understand and quoting all these references to the brain and everything, but I just don't trust you. I just don't trust him. A couple of years ago, I read The Invisible Landscape by Terrence Mckenna. Now, what he does in The Invisible Landscape, you know, what he does, he sort of he has this marriage of primitivism and archaism and shamanism, but then he's marrying it up with science, or it's like pretend science, because I don't think it really is science. But he's using scientific language, almost like he's trying to draw people in. Look how big-brained I am. I'm using scientific terminology. But really it's like the money shot of that book, the Invisible Landscape. He keeps talking about La Chorrera, somewhere in Colombia, where he did experiments on ayahuasca and DMT or whatever, psychoactive substances. And throughout the book, from the beginning right up to the end, he keeps talking about how we will learn when we later on, when we look at the events that occurred at La Chorrera, or the experiment, and what occurred at La Chorrera, as we will see when we look at La Chorrera. And he's going on about this La Chorrera throughout the whole book, using these flowery terms and scientific stuff and the I Ching, all throughout the book. 230 odd boring, I don't know what you're talking about, pages. And eventually, we get to La Chorrera, what occurred at La Chorrera. And it's about 3.5 pages from a 260 odd page book. It's like 3 pages at the end, right near the end. And it's basically the story of what occurred at La Chorrera was him and his brother got off their tits, and some vague references to oh, one of us didn't sleep for 48 hours. One of us saw this. Completely not science. But he's buttered this thing up into such a big thing that you don't even pay attention to it. And it's this great big thing in the history of mankind. What occurred at La Chorrera. And you actually read it with a cold, cynical eye, like maybe I've got. And these famous events of what occurred at La Chorrera and what he relays about these experiences are actually, they're no more scientific or viable or meaningful in the history of mankind than if you'd just got some a biker from 1984 who took a load of acid and at a festival and lay asleep or tripping in a field for 2 days, and then later on he relays, oh, I had this trip, man, this happened, that happened. It's literally no more of a big deal than what Terrence Mckenna writes about in this book. And yet a lot of people know they're pinning everything on this guy. So, and he butters people up as well. He butters people up. I was listening to a lecture the other day that I've got on my iPod. And he will do things like, it's 1995, whatever, and he's doing a lecture somewhere. And there's maybe, I don't know, he's got 50, 100 people there. And he'll say stuff like, in the great scheme of things, the attendees here today, when compared to the great mass of humanity, would effectively have the position of being avatars at the cutting edge of consciousness. He butters people up. He butters his audience up. He's very funny as well. He's got a very good sense of humour, but he butters people up. It's like there's a slow sell, a brainwashing slow sell. It's one of the reasons I don't trust him. Another reason, something that occurred to me, the backstory with Terrence Mckenna, right? There's this backstory, and it's extremely vague. The backstory is that for some, he owed people money or something, or he's in some sort of trouble with the taxpayer or the government in the US, and he went travelling across Asia for an undisclosed amount of time. Oh, I was travelling across Asia. So he's kind of missing for this period of his life. He's just, he was, the famous, I was taking drugs and travelling across Asia. And it's just like this mysterious backstory that never actually really gets resolved. And then this is coupled with when Terrence Mckenna died, okay, very shortly after he died, it supposedly, all his research that he'd been conducting over, it all went up in flames. The house burnt down and it all went up in flames. So it's all gone, so we can't see any of this stuff. It's all gone. And as far as I'm aware, I could be very, very wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of this research doesn't see any of it, like, doesn't seem to have reared up, like, you know, right, lost writings of Terrence Mckenna. I don't know, and if I look at Terrence Mckenna book, it's just the same books. Now, okay, so let's get on. I was looking at Food of the Gods last night anyway, and it's just the contradictions in what he says. I find them very striking. But you have to put it together. It's like, hey, you have to remember what you read 3 pages ago. Now, for a start, he starts talking about the goddess and all this, and the matriarchy and the goddess. He's really into goddess worship. Like, goddess worship, archaic times, everything was fine and dandy, but somehow things went wrong when the patriarchy took over, and he doesn't like Europe, and then, like, you know, this is like really, really bad. Oh, it's all Whitey's fault. when you read between the lines, it's European, it's Whitey's fault. Everything went wrong. Despite the fact that much later on, he's really into science. And we're at the cutting edge of science and we need to go to the stars and this is where we're headed. Well, I thought you said that things went wrong. But you know where the science came from to get us to the stars. So like. Anyway, so he's going on about the goddess. Here's just a little example, and I'm finding it a little bit difficult to read in this light. Let me see, one sec. Yeah, maybe that's a bit better. Okay, so this is towards the end of the introduction. Okay, to this point, I have used the term partnership. This is Terrence Mckenna writing, or maybe it's Susan Rosbach, I don't know. Anyway, Terrence Mckenna. To this point, I've used the terms partnership and dominator styles of culture without explanation. Well, you can see where he's going with this already. You can see it coming a mile off anyway. I owe these useful terms to Rianne Eisler and her important revisioning of history, The Chalice and the Blade. Eisler has advanced the notion that partnership models of society preceded and later competed with and were oppressed by dominator forms of social organisation. So you can see where this is going already. But anyway, quick little Google. I think I've got it here. Give me 1 second while on my little broken tablet. Oh, Rianne Eisler. Rianne Tenhouse Eisler. Interesting, Tenhouse. Aleister Crowley. Tannhauser. Similar, doesn't matter. Born July the 22nd, 1931, is an Austrian-born American systems scientist and author who writes about the effect of gender politics historically on society. Life. Eisler was born in Vienna in 1931 before her family fled from the Nazis in 1939 to Cuba. I was surprised. Anyway, so we're on this thing, and here we go. Her analysis of gender politics raises the level of debate beyond those who have so shrilly hailed and decried this or that ancient matriarchy or patriarchy. So he's dissing people who have shrilly hailed and decried this or that ancient matriarchy or patriarchy. The Chalice and the Blade introduces the notion of partnership societies and dominator societies and uses the archaeological record to argue, like there's no proof, to argue that over vast areas and for many centuries, again a bit vague, the partnership societies of the ancient Middle East were without warfare and upheaval. What's upheaval? Warfare and patriarchy arrived with the appearance of dominator values. Hold on, am I going mad? Am I missing something? He's just said we raised the level of the debate. We raised the level of debate beyond those who've so shrilly hailed and decried this or that ancient matriarchy or patriarchy. And then how many lines later? Warfare and patriarchy arrived with the appearance of dominator values. So he's completely contradicting himself, like 180 degrees, in the matter of a couple of sentences. It's like twisted, but you can imagine him sitting there talking and people are drinking this in, they're drinking it in. Our culture, self-toxified by the poisonous byproducts of technology and egocentric ideology, by he means white male Europeans, the dominator culture. Self-toxified by the poisonous byproducts of technology, but later on he's bigging up technology. He's at the cutting edge of technology. I will argue the suppression of shamanic gnosis, whatever the fuck that is, because it could really mean whatever you want it to mean. Shamanic gnosis. And here's another one. I will argue that the suppression of shamanic gnosis, listen carefully, with its reliance and insistence on ecstatic disillusion of the ego. Oh, sorry, Terrence. This is all sounding insistence. The shamanic gnosis has a reliance and insistence on ecstatic dissolution of the ego. This is drumming and dancing about and getting off your head. This sounds a bit like rules, Terrence. Are these not dominator values, Terrence? Are these not dominate? Is that not a dominator value? Insistence on ecstatic dissolution of the ego. Is that not slightly a dominator? Aren't there other ways? And he does address that, and of course he comes up, has robbed us of life's meaning. Well, life's what you make it, right? Robbed us of life's meaning. Has life got any one specific meaning? Again, it's sounding a bit like a dominator value, Terrence. Oh, you just want your meaning. Like your meaning. Get off your face and look at a glitter cloud. The strange attractor glitter cloud. And if you're not doing that, then you're a victim of the dominator culture. Ourselves made us enemies of the planet, ourselves and our grandchildren. We are killing the planet. Are we? Really? We're killing the planet in order to keep intact the wrong-headed assumptions of the ego-dominator cultural style. It is time for change, of course it is. Anyway, look, that's the end of that little thing. I might do a reading of it, I don't know. It's just, there's so many contradictions in this. But I want to get to the bottom of this Sarah Rosbach thing. So maybe I can read this book. I'm on limited time on this phone with the battery, and 15 chapters. So it could take maybe a couple of weeks to do it. Maybe I can do an hour a day. Anyway, I'll leave that with you.